Today, the Republican presidential campaigns have agreed on a list of demands that would give them greater control over the next debates. This comes after the immense fallout from last week's debate on CNBC.
Here to talk about this is CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris. Steve, it seems that these demands made by the campaign seem rather modest. How much of a difference do you think they will make?
Well, the demands themselves won't make much of a difference. It's really, they want to have 30 seconds minimum for opening and closing statements. They want to have an equal number of questions for each of the candidates. One interesting point on there was that they wanted to have final approval. The campaigns want to have final approval for on-air graphics, which I think will irritate some of the networks that are putting these debates on. I think that'll be a point of negotiation between the networks and the candidates. But I don't think this is going to be, you know, what it does is really is taking the power of the negotiating away from the RNC and putting it in the hands of the campaigns, which I think after the CNBC debate last week, the campaigns would rather have control of that.
Steve, you mentioned the graphics issue. That sounds like editorial control.
Yeah, I mean, again, these are points that they're going to raise with as they go into negotiations with the networks. It's not something they're demanding of the networks. They're going to ask the networks for this, and I can only imagine that the networks will not want to cede editorial control over to the campaigns.
Is that overreach?
You know, you can call it whatever you want. I mean, but it's not like they're forcing the networks to do this. I think what you're seeing here is a group of campaigns who feel that the negotiations throughout the first three debates were not really in their favor. They felt that the RNC was not hearing their concerns when they were going to the negotiating table with the networks, and they want to have more control over the negotiations. So they're throwing these things out there for discussion.
Steve, how can you guarantee that everyone gets, you know, enough questions, you know, the same amount of questions, the same amount of time when you have that many candidates on the stage?
That's a very good question. I was just talking about that this morning. It's a 2-hour debate. You have upwards of 10 people on one stage, and you know, somebody's going to have to police that if they agree to it. Now, it might be the type of thing where the campaigns demand that, and the networks say, "Well, we'll give it a good faith effort to try to give everybody as much the same amount of questions." They're never going to be able to get equal time, but they can try to get the equal number of questions.
Steve, I want to turn to the race itself. Today, Jeb Bush is in Florida, kicking off his Jeb Can Fix It tour, and you know, some are saying this is obviously an attempt to kind of reset his campaign. What's the time frame for him now? Is this a little too late, as some fear?
I don't think it's too late. I mean, there's 3 months before any of the first voting starts, but he's in a situation where he had a really terrible week in terms of trying to reset expectations for his donors and his supporters, and then going into the debate last week where, by all accounts, it was not a good night for him. And then at the end of the week, it came out on Friday night that Marco Rubio has secured the support of a really large Republican donor named Paul Singer, who has a large network of donors as well. And so there's money flowing to other candidates this late in the game. And so it's not a great time to be Jeb Bush. However, there's plenty of time for him to turn this around. He admitted as much over the weekend in an interview that he's not doing as well as he could be. And so you're going to see him try to step this up and see what he can do over the next 3 months to build support.
Steve, turning to the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders is launching his first TV ad in early voting states in Iowa and New Hampshire. What does history show us in terms of how what kind of an impact that could help give to him, and could it help him turn the tide?
Well, I don't know about this specific ad, which is a biographical spot to introduce to people who, especially in Iowa and New Hampshire, who Bernie Sanders is. He's going to have to do, over the next few months, a good job of really setting up a contrast with Hillary Clinton. At this point, Hillary Clinton has had a pretty good run the last couple of weeks with her performance at the Democratic debate, with her performance in front of the Benghazi committee, and she's gotten a bit of a boost out of that. And so now he is using some of the money that he has raised, and he's raised a lot of money, he's got almost as much on hand as Hillary Clinton, so he's using it for ads. But he's got to set up a contrast over the next few months and give Democrats a reason to vote for him. I'm not sure this is the ad that does it, but this is the first one for him, and it gets him going on that front.
Steve Chaggaris, thank you so much.
Thanks.